Schicken Sie uns ein MG-42-Trupp. Sagen Sie den Kommandostab der Greifen an. Sie sollen Verstärkung schicken.
In this first part, I will be taking you on a minute-for-minute step along the events of June 6. Not every minute will be narrated, and you can always read everything back on your own time. Enjoy. In 1943, the Allies were already fighting in Italy, and they needed a second front into Western Europe. The Germans would be convinced if an Allied invasion would occur, it would be at the Pas de Calais. The Allies actually used this to their advantage and let Germany think it would actually happen at Calais. After delaying D-Day for several days because of bad weather, the Allies would land on 5 beaches, and paratroopers were dropped behind the beaches to secure bridges, important access to the beaches, and knock out gun batteries.
You know, a lot of people don't realize D-Day, they wrote a lot of books and a lot of movies about it. The whole D-Day was only 18 hours. We dropped the boats at 4 o'clock in the morning, and 10 o'clock at night the beach was ours. It was only 18 hours, the whole thing. People make a big spectacle about it, you know, D-Day, D-Day. It was 18 hours, that's all it was. But we did lose 2,000 men on the beach. I said men, I shouldn't say men. 2,000 kids. We were all kids. We were all kids. We were too young to drink. We were too young to vote. We weren't too young to die.
At 5 minutes after midnight, German coastal batteries between Le Havre and Cherbourg are the target of Allied bombers. 2 minutes later, German sentries spot low-flying aircraft north of Corentin. At 010 hours, American airborne pathfinders jumping to set up markers to identify the drop zones for C-47s carrying the main body of paratroopers for the 82nd and 101st Airborne Divisions. At 016 hours, the first of the 3 British gliders land less than 50 meters from the bridge of Benneville, now known as the Pegasus Bridge. Another 3 British Horsa gliders carrying men of Oxfordshire and Buckinghamshire light infantry land just 50 meters away from the Benneville Bridge over the Orne River. At 020 hours, under the command of Major John Howard, they storm the now famous Pegasus Bridge. At 020 hours, 6 Embalmar aircraft drop 60 pathfinders from the 22nd Independent Parachute Company on drop zones N, F and K east of the Orne River. At 030 hours, 110 bombers belonging to the Bomber Command attack the anti-aircraft batteries at Khan Kirpak area. 2 Horsa gliders land near the Renville Bridge, now named the Horsa Bridge, for Operation Deadstick. At 050 hours, the 5th Brigade of the 6th British Airborne Division drop near Renville. Separated from the rest of the brigade, the 6th joined the mission commanded by Brigadier Nigel Poet to capture the bridges over the Khan Channel and the Orne River. At 0100 hours, German Unteroffizier Ludwig Forster discovers the Allied Armada off his WN-62 strongpoint. At 0110 hours, German troops up at the 84th Corps from the Orne River to St. Malo get the order to stay on the alert. At 0121 hours, the pathfinders of the 82nd Airborne Division jump over the anomaly above the Cotentin to attempt to mark 3 landing zones for the rest of the division. At 0130 hours, the sirens of the Pointe-Arc battery are activated to signal the appearance of Allied bombers. At the same time, the 7th German Army has been set on alert. 40 kilometers away, Major General Maxwell Taylor from the 101st Airborne Division lands on the drop zones near Utah Beach in the American sector. At 0200 hours, until the first ships of Force U arrive off Utah Beach at 0229 hours, Marshal von Rundstedt is made aware of alerts following the discovery of paratroopers, and the 21st German Armored Division is set on level 2 alert. At 0230 hours, serious fighting is taking off around Renville between the British airborne troops and German soldiers. A armored vehicle of the 1st Panzerjäger Company of the 716th German Infantry Division is destroyed on the Kahn Oistram crossroads in Bonneville. A few minutes later, 2 planes towing gliders are spotted by the Veldpoststamp on the 352nd Infantry Division, and Marshal von Rundstedt reports by radio that he does not believe in a large-scale landing. At 02:45 hours, the 914th Grenadier Regiment reports that 50 to 60 paratroopers jumped south of the Grand Canal of Corentin. 5 minutes later, ships from Force O arrive at Omaha Beach. At 0300 hours, US soldiers from O and U Force off the coast of Omaha in Utah embark into their landing craft. Sergeant Ludwig Forrester fires 3 white rockets from this WN-62 strongpoint on Omaha to ask offshore ships to identify themselves. Of course, they don't get any response. At the same time, the Royal Air Force bombards targets on Cannes, and the 914th Grenadier Regiment reports that paratroopers have been spotted south of the Brevants near Gordonville. Also, Allied warships arrive at their positions for their naval bombardment. At 0310 hours, the Pointe-Hawk sector sends to the HQ of the 352nd German Infantry Division landing of enemy paratroopers on either side of the mouth of the Veuve. At 0330 hours, troops and vehicles of the 21st Panzer Division are ready to deploy. 5 minutes later, more German reports are sent of bombings at Le Goux, Pointe-Hawk and Grand Camp. Close to Ranville, 55 Horsa gliders are coming in for Operation Tonga, containing forces for the 6th British Airborne Division. At 0350 hours, at the village of Ranville, British paratroopers attack German forces. 5 minutes later, at the north of Hisville, 52 American Waco gliders land as part of Operation Detroit, north of Hisville with forces destined for the 101st Airborne Division. At Hisville, between 0350 and 0400 hours, the Waco glider nicknamed Fighting Falcon with General Pratt from the 101st Airborne Division on board crashed, killing Pratt and several on board. He will be the highest ranking Allied officer to be killed on D-Day. At 0400 hours, 52 American Waco gliders land as part of Operation Detroit northwest of Saint-Melier-Glis. At the same time, the bombing by air starts on German strongpoints WN 44, 47 and 48. 04:15 hours, 4 US soldiers armed only with knives land on the island of Large near Saint-Morcov, and 15 minutes later it became the first French territory a Allied force took on D-Day. At 04:30 hours, commanded by Lieutenant Colonel Ottawa, the battle for the Merville battery starts, but with only 150 men instead of the 600 paratroopers that were planned. Some without even having any heavy weapons or equipment. And an American officer that was captured a few minutes earlier by the Germans confirms the existence of small paratrooper dolls. These dolls would be equipped with explosives that would have been dropped to distract the Germans. Oh, 45 hours. The 75 men of the 150 who attacked the Merville battery now control the area. They try to destroy the German guns with some of the plastic explosives they could find. At 0510 hours, the landing and bombardment of the coastal defenses commences. At Gold Beach, the cruiser HMS Orion, Ajax, Argonaut, Emerald and the Dutch gunboat Flores and 13 destroyers open fire on the German positions, and 80 Marauder bombers bombard the gun battery at Montcanis.
The parachutists came down, the airplanes bombed, and the airplanes came very down. You could see the men when they shoot us. We saw already the tanks coming, and then we saw these people come. It was happy to have to shoot anymore. We didn't want to fight.
At 0520 hours, German reports say the following. from the 352nd Artillery Regiment to the staff of the 352nd. Infantry Division Advanced Observers of Artillery Groups 2 and 4 report presence of noises. Naval units moving towards Point du Hoc, 29 ships, of which 4 are quite large, are observed at a distance of 6 to 10 kilometers. A number of landing craft in front port of Bessing is probably about 50. At 0530 hours on Sword Beach, soldiers of the first wave of Force S embark into their landing craft. At 0550 hours the American sector of Omaha gets bombed by the USS Texas.
Schicken Sie uns einen MG-42 Trupp.
At 0600 hours, a total of 270 American Marauder bombers dropped 4,404 bombs on targets along the Norman coast. The bridge of Roman-Holm on the Dives River has been blown up by Canadian engineers from the 10th section of 3rd Paratrooper Squadron Royal Engineers, and American paratroopers were captured in Carntown. In the next 15 minutes several German reports are sent. Groups of ships sighted at Grand Gap. Bombardments are on the strong points located at Armange, Colleville and Saint-Honorine. German reports also say that St. Mary Église was captured by paratroopers. At 0615 hours more German reports are sent and the Omaha Beach landing starts. At 0620 German reports 29 vessels, including 4 large units, off Port and Bessing and Point du Hoc, and 4 Allied aircraft are shot down near Fort McNee. And at 0629 32 amphibious Sherman tanks are deployed on Dock Green and Dock White sectors on Omaha Beach. At 0630 hours, the 2nd Battalion of the 8th Regiment of 4th US Infantry Division land on Eagle Red sector of Utah Beach. At 0635 hours, landing of the first wave of the 116th Regiment starts on Omaha Beach. At 0645 hours, the deployment of 32 Sherman DD tanks starts of the 70th Armored Battalion. 4 sink and 28 reach the shore. Landing of the second wave of assault starts on Omaha Beach, and the destroyer HMS Wrestler hits a mine in the Eastern Task Force sector. B-25 aircraft complete placing a smoke screen that protects the Allied Armada. At 0710 hours, the Pak 43 housed inside the WN-61 strongpoint on Omaha is put out of action, either destroyed by a direct hit from naval artillery or by a Sherman tank commanded by Sergeant Turner Shepard. 1 minute later, the assault force carrying Colonel Rudder's 225 Rangers land at the base of the cliffs of Point du Hoc. At 0715 hours, German reports state that the WN-60 strongpoint is severely bombed and that 20 landing craft are approaching Omaha Beach. 0720 hours, German reports say that amphibious tanks have been spotted in the area of Vieux-sur-Mer. The naval bombardment on Gold Beach, Juno Beach and Sword Beach have stopped, and the start of landing of tanks on board LCTs from the 22nd Dragons on Sword Beach. At 0725 hours, Sherman crab tanks land on Gold Beach, Juno Beach and Sword Beach to bind and clear obstacles on the beach. The 5th British Infantry Division led by Major General Graham and Churchill AVR tanks of the 5th Assault Regiment land on Gold Beach. 0730 hours, paratroopers of the 101st Airborne Division seize the number 3 beach exit on Utah Beach. At 0745 hours, a temporary HQ is set up in a crater on Point du Hoc by the Rangers. At Omaha Beach, German soldiers report the breakthrough of 6 tanks at the WN-66 strongpoint. Task Force C lands on Omaha Beach with A and B companies of the 2nd Rangers Battalion at Dock Green and Dock White sectors. And the 3rd Canadian Infantry Division lands on Juno Beach. At 0800 hours, 4 battalions have landed on Utah Beach. 1 gun of the Cresbeck battery is put out of action, and US soldiers reach the top of the beach at WN-60 strongpoint on Omaha Beach. Rangers who were originally to land on Point Rock land on Omaha Beach, and 5 minutes later the 3rd Canadian Infantry Division reports that Mike Green Beach area is under artillery fire. German reports say weak enemy assaulted the Point Rock battery, 50 men in front of the WN-68 strongpoint in Veerville. 08:10 hours. On Omaha Beach, Sherman DT tanks that were going for Fox Green have sunk. Number 91 landing craft also sunk on Omaha Dog Green White sector. In the next 10 minutes, the following happens. Radio transmissions come in that the Veerville battery has been destroyed, and German reports come in on the Point Rock saying that the enemy is climbing the rock walls. At 0:20 hours, the 7th Battalion of the Green Howard 69 Infantry Division of the 5th Infantry Division land on Gold Beach, and number 4 Command of the 1st Special Service Brigade land on Sword Beach. In the next 10 minutes, the following happens. Omaha Beach receives artillery fire from the Macy batteries. Also on Omaha Beach, the troop take over WN-62 strongpoint, and the WN-61 strongpoint is attacked from the front and the back. At 08:30 hours on Omaha Beach, the landing is stopped due to lack of space on the beach. The Germans think they are winning the battle and counterattack the WN-60 strongpoint. And the first HQ is established on the beach by General Cota. The bridge at Vardenville on the Dives River has been blown up by the 1st Canadian Parachute Battalion. At 08:35 hours on Omaha Beach, the Americans captured their first prisoners. German reports show that between 100 and 200 soldiers have penetrated the defense at Colleyville and that the battalion has reinforced the German defense positions. At 8:45, German reports show that the WN-7 strongpoint fell into enemy hands and that the W-62 was destroyed and 3 tanks passed through the WN-66 strongpoint. And reports come in from Sword Beach that the Royal Marines Commando 41 has landed. At 8:49 hours, reports from Omaha Beach, the American 116th Infantry Division is blocked by heavy machine gun fire and calls for artillery support. 08:57 hours on Gold Beach, German reports come in. 30 enemy tanks landed between the WN-35 and WN-36 strongpoints.
The kid was 2 feet away from me. Was not so lucky. The machine gun took his helmet off and part of his head. He was crying. Help me. Help me. And he fell at my feet. I couldn't help him. I had no morphine. I couldn't even help myself. How could I help him? I didn't know what to do. So I started to pray. And I think the prayers calmed him down a little bit. But he's on my feet and he's crying, help me. He's crying, Mama. So I reached down and I touched his hand. I didn't want to die alone. He squeezed my hand and he died.
At 0900 hours, the Grasbeck battery's second gun is put out of action by Allied ships. The Rangers repulse a counterattack led by the 1st Company of the 916th German Infantry Regiment on Point Rock. The WN-60 strongpoint on Omaha at the Fox Red area is taken out by the 1st US Infantry Division, making the F1 exit open. At Sword Beach, the bunker under the casino in Questerham is stormed by survivors of the Kiefer Commandos. In the next 10 minutes, the following happens. At 09:05 hours, Canadian soldiers report that the situation is excellent at the Mike Red area on Juno Beach. At 09:10 hours, Rangers on Omaha report and request support from demolition teams, because the tide is rising rapidly and that the beach obstacles have still not been demolished. At 09:15 hours, the 352nd German Infantry Division report the loss of strongpoints WN-65, 68 and 70. The railway bridge over Barres on the Dives River has been blown up by the men of Lieutenant Schaeff. In the next 15 minutes the following happens. At 09:20 hours, General Abney orders the ships of Omaha Beach to set up a new naval artillery barrage on German defenses, at the risk of killing American soldiers. At 09:20 hours, German reports say that about 30 enemy tanks are moving south towards Meuvaines. At 09:25 hours on Gold Beach, and amphibious support tanks requested by Commando Kiefer arrive in front of the casino bunker at Sword Beach and open fire, allowing the French commandos to storm the position. 5 minutes later, the casino has been taken over. A little status report here. In records they always talk about the casino assault or the casino building. In reality there wasn't a casino building anymore. The Germans demolished the building around the beach area for a better viewpoint. The only thing left of the casino was the foundation, and on top and into that foundation were several bunkers built, which had a great vantage point. At 09:30 hours on Gold Beach, the Germans report that WN-35 and 36 strongpoints are destroyed, while the guns of WN-40 destroyed 4 tanks and 3 landing craft. At the same time, around 10 to 12 German Focke-Wulf fighter planes attack the beach. The town of Berniers at Juno Beach is liberated by the men of the North Shore Regiment and the Queen's Own Rifles. At the same time, the town of Hermeville at Sword Beach is also liberated. At 09:45 hours, reports come in that Utah Beach is cleared of all German forces. The second artillery barrage on Omaha Beach comes to an end, and German armored vehicles are spotted to the north of Cannes by the Royal Air Force recon planes. At Omaha Beach, 2 US destroyers approach the shoreline to support isolated groups trying to get out of the beach. And 200 soldiers of the 1st Battalion of the 116 regiments climb the cliffs and reach Vierville-sur-Mer. Other American troops destroyed WN-64 Strongpoint, and on Sword Beach the British soldiers of Commando No. 4 reach the port of Prestram, where the German defense is mostly concentrated. At 10:12 hours, the following German reports are sent. On Omaha Beach, WN-60 still holds. WN-62 is still in action with a machine gun. But the situation is critical. Elements of the 1st and 4th companies counterattack. 10:15 hours, the WN-62 Strongpoint and the 2 76mm guns are destroyed by naval artillery on Omaha Beach at Colleville-sur-Mer. And between 60 and 17 landing craft are disembarking soldiers in front of the WN-65 Strongpoint, and Pointe-du-Hoc has gone radio silent. 10:25, 3 tanks are spotted at the west of the WN-38 Strongpoint. And 10:30 hours, heavy fighting breaks out near the town of Naval, close to Utah Beach, between the 501st Parachute Infantry Regiment and German troops. Close to Omaha Beach, the destroyer USS McCook destroys the 2 75mm guns at the Pointe de la Percée. And American soldiers storm the E1 exit close to the WN-65 Strongpoint between the Easy Green and Easy Red beach sectors. 1100 hours. The destroyer USS Thompson of Omaha Beach joins in the bombardment of the German radar station and Pointe de la Percée. In the next hour the following happens. 1112 hours, German reports show that the WN-60 Strongpoint still holds, while the 61 has fallen and the 62 is getting overrun. The survivors of the 1st and 4th Battalions prepare a counter-offensive to reconquer WN-61 on Omaha Beach. 1200 hours. The paratroopers of the 101st Division control 4 beach exits of Utah Beach. Forces advancing inland from Utah Beach link up with other paratroopers of the 101st Division. The whole company of the 501st Parachute Infantry Regiment reached the village of Angoville, close to Utah Beach. The last 6 defenders of the OP at Pointe-du-Hoc surrendered to the American Rangers. Morse code sent from Pointe-du-Hoc is set as the following. Arrived at Pointe-du-Hoc, mission complete, urgent, need ammunition and reinforcements, many losses. 1300 hours, Colonel Rudder receives the reply that no reinforcements are possible, all Rangers have landed on Omaha Beach. 1330 hours, the city of Cannes is bombarded from the air. Troops finally start moving inland at Omaha Beach on the Easy Red, Easy Green, Fox Red sectors. German resistance in front of Dog Green, Easy Red and White Red sectors has stopped.
When I went aboard, I'm on the ship. Stay with me a minute, stay with me. I'm alive. I'm alive. And I got to make a decision. Do I stay aboard the ship and let somebody take my place? Or do I go back into the belly of the beast and face those machine guns again? And I said to myself, this is what I was trained to do. And I made 15 trips. And they told me I didn't know that. They told me we made 15 trips with my boat. The PA 2628 made 15 trips. So then I had to be interrogated. There was a naval officer and a sergeant. He had a lot of stripes on him, great big sergeant. He put his hand on my shoulder. He said, son, that hand was like a hug. I needed a hug.
1413 hours. The destroyer USS Harding opens fire on the bell tower of the church of Vierville-sur-Mer. In the next 47 minutes, the following happens. 1425 hours, the town of Paris-sur-Lerdan, south of Sword Beach, is liberated by British tanks. 1430 hours, German artillery barrages preventing the rescue of injured rangers from Pointe-du-Hoc by lifeboats of the USS Barton. And the German 21st Panzer Division launches a counterattack against the British forces on the eastern flank of the invasion area. 1500 hours. 2 American destroyers approach the shore to support the landed troops on Omaha Beach, and the German 916th Grenadier Regiment counterattacks the American advancing units at WN 62A, 62B and 64 strong points. 1530 hours, German troops abandon their post at WN 62 strong point, and the port of Questerham is under control of British forces. 1700 hours. American naval artillery destroys the bell tower of the church at St. Lawrence-sur-Mer, which houses German snipers. The WN-73 on Omaha Beach is stormed by men of the 5th Rangers Battalion and the 116th Regiment. In the next 50 minutes, the following happens. 1730 hours, the German armored forces counterattack the town of Beeville, controlled by Canadian soldiers. 1800 hours. The battery of the Longue-sur-Mer is bombarded by French warships. A few minutes later, the battery is finally silenced. On Juno Beach, the last German defenders of the coastal installations in the non-red sector surrender. The WN-12 strong point at Oysterham is stormed by soldiers of the 2nd Battalion of the East Yorkshire Regiment. And the town of St. Laurent, behind Omaha Beach, is liberated by American forces. And the beaches of Gold and Juno are linked up by British and Canadian forces. 1825 hours, German reports are sent that the 1st Company of the 914th Grenadier Regiment must counterattack at the Pointe-du-Hoc sector. And at 1854 hours, the destroyer USS Harding opens fire on the steeple of the church of Vierville-sur-Mer. 1900 hours. Violent fighting takes place between the American troops and the German defenders at the town of Colleville-sur-Mer. 1935 hours, the town and church of Vierville-sur-Mer is again bombed by the destroyer USS Harding. 2000 hours. The 21st Panzer Division reaches Luc-sur-Mer between Juno and Sword Beaches, but British armor and infantry halt their advance. At 2051 hours, the last elements of the 6th Airborne Division land with 265 gliders close to the town of Benneville for Operation Mallard. At 2100 hours, at Pointe-du-Hoc, 24 Rangers that landed on Omaha Beach reinforced the forces at the battery. 45 minutes later, Omaha Beach is still receiving German artillery fire coming from the Macy area. At 2300 hours, Pointe-du-Hoc battery is still being counterattacked by German forces. At 23:30 hours, the German counterattacks will go on into the night, and it was not until the morning of 8 June that the Rangers at Pointe-du-Hoc were finally relieved by the 2nd and 5th Rangers. D-Day+1 has now begun. The Rangers will fight into the night and it will take several days until these units will be relieved. At the Pegasus Bridge, the paratroopers will have to hold their positions until 01 hours on D-Day+1, and the last of the exhausted troopers will withdraw from their positions at the Pegasus Bridge. Omaha Beach will turn out to be the most bloodiest and hard-fought beaches on D-Day, and on D-Day+1, the beach will still receive artillery fire, but it was still prepared as the supply area it was planned to be. But it would take another 2 days to achieve the original D-Day objectives. Several gun batteries which were shelled on D-Day would surrender the next day, like the battery at Longueuil-sur-Mer, the battery at Asheville, but Macy would still be in German hands until D-Day+1. The Naval gun battery, which was fought over on D-Day, was recaptured by the Germans, and on +1 it was attacked by British commandos. This attack will fail and the commandos will suffer heavy losses. The Allied forces will never succeed in retaking the battery and it will stay in the hands of the Germans until 17th of August, when they retreated from the area. At Utah Beach the situation was quite different, and the Allied forces started moving inland on D-Day+1, and some paratroopers fighting in the area for 2 days would be relieved on D-Day+2. The original goal of pushing to the north towards the port of Cherbourg failed, but most of the success of Utah Beach was because of the bad communications between the Germans and the overcomplicated command structure, and that would probably count for the whole of the Battle of Normandy. But I hope you enjoyed watching these 2 videos. I will be doing a lot more Normandy videos in the upcoming weeks. And if you enjoyed these videos, think about subscribing or hitting that like button. I hope you have an awesome weekend and see you in the next one.
So I waited and I waited, and all of a sudden there was a lull. They had to change the barrels. And I dropped the ramp, and this time I got 8 guys on the beach. Of course, they were cut down immediately. I'd rather not go any further. Okay.